Yes, Your Honor, I only have about 10 minutes left, I think, with Mr. McEnroe.
Okay.
So at the conclusion, or I guess I would ask the court just to say something to the jury along the lines of, due to scheduling difficulties, we don't have any further witnesses, just so that it doesn't seem as though it's due to any sort of lack of diligence on the part of the
I'm
defense.
just going to indicate to them that due to scheduling difficulties, we have a witness that we have to take on Monday, that we're going to interrupt Mr. McEnroe's further testimony in order for that to happen. For the time to leave it at that, I think that would give them the information.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. Thanks, counsel. So, Penny, could you invite the jury in, please? Mr. McEnroe, why don't you come on up here again, sir?
Please rise for the jury.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Joe, just a few more details, okay?
Okay.
First question is, in the cell that you're in at the jail, or available at the jail, or available to you at the jail, are you able to listen to the radio or watch TV or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Do you have video games?
No.
So how do you...
Not even board games.
Not board games either?
I study a lot, and I read books. In here I've studied philosophy, anthropology, theology, history, some neurology. I've studied some French. Some mythology as well.
What was that?
And some mythology as well.
And then the drawings that you do?
And my work as well, yes.
And then you've talked about talking to other people, right?
Yes, yes.
You gotten any fights while you've been in the jail?
Absolutely not, no.
Have you done anything or gotten...
No.
Have you done anything or gotten in trouble for things like, some people do things like plug up their drains and flood their cells to create trouble? Have you done anything like that?
No, I've never even understood why people would do that.
You've never what?
I've never even understood why people would do that.
But that does happen. You've had some infractions since you've been in, correct?
I have had a couple, yes.
Okay, about how many over the years?
I think 4 or 5.
Okay, and give us an idea of what those were for?
I actually just had an infraction yesterday. I had pennies, and I'm not supposed to have pennies. Pennies? And
Tell us, why did you have pennies and where did you get them?
I came across some pennies in the changing room, and...
You don't wear clothes like that in jail?
No.
You don't wear clothes like that in jail?
No, I wear my jumpsuit, actually.
Okay.
And I came across some pennies on the ground, and I'm like, hey, look. And I thought they would...
What did you say, hey?
And, yeah, I wasn't supposed to have pennies, so I ended up finding that out.
And they search you routinely, correct?
Yeah.
And they found those?
Yeah.
And did you
Actually, they fell out of my pocket.
Okay.
And, yeah.
And then, did you have some others that you didn't turn over to them or something?
I didn't realize I had other ones in my pocket, in my other pocket. So later on when I realized I did have the other ones in my pocket, I just kind of like tried to just get rid of them. And so, yeah.
But they caught you doing that, right?
They found them anyway, yeah.
Okay. And why aren't you allowed to have things like pennies?
Off of the idea that maybe I could make a weapon out of them, or a lockpick or something like that.
Okay.
I didn't learn about that until yesterday.
All right.
So.
But you know that you're not allowed to have things like paper clips and staples, right?
Yeah.
So that would stand to reason? Pennies?
Well, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So before that, when was your last infraction?
I think maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay, and what have your other infractions been for?
My other infractions have been for pretty minor things. Having too much stuff in my room.
Like what kind of stuff?
Books, magazines,
Okay.
stuff. I think one time it was for not making my bed out at the right time. Yeah. And one time it was for drawing nudes. And I think that's it, actually.
Okay. So Joe, you said that you don't like to waste resources earlier.
Mm-mm.
If that's the case, why not just plead guilty? Why all this? Why this trial if you know you did it?
Because even if I pled guilty to execution, even if I pled guilty to death, we still have to go through this penalty trial anyway, and all the stuff that didn't come up in the first trial would still come up in the second trial, so we'd still have to go through all this anyway.
So is this
and nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody should have to see that. So I tried to avoid
but
that.
Joe, is this a discussion you've had with your attorneys about whether to, have you thought about volunteering for execution?
Yes.
Do you understand that you're not allowed to choose your penalty when you do something like this?
Yes.
Okay. And have you tried to plead guilty to life without parole?
Yes.
To how many counts? How many counts?
All. Six.
Everything?
6, yes.
Okay. And how many times have you, well, let me ask you this. Have you discussed that with your attorneys over the years?
Yes, several times.
Okay. What was the earliest time you remember being willing to do that?
I believe possibly June 2008.
Okay. Have you ever been unwilling since that June 2008? Have you ever been unwilling to plead guilty to life without parole?
No.
You've always been willing to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. You also said that when you came into the jail, you were suicidal.
I was, yeah. My entire self broke down. Yeah.
And was there something that caused you to think maybe you shouldn't kill yourself?
I had actually talked with one of my attorneys, that's Miss Catherine Ross, and she had said that, you're not a lost cause, you can still do some good, and even in the world of prisons and stuff, and still help people, be better people and stuff, and just it's like, oh, okay, it's not a total waste. There'll still be some hope of redemption. I'm not a total waste, and there's still some hope of redemption, and it's like, oh, well, that's okay then.
Why do you want redemption, Joe?
Because I need to go off, I need to offset this horrible thing in some way, and if I can, but try to make some. It's not like if I do there's anything I could do that would go off make this not bad, not absolutely awful, but if I can offset it a little bit and do something to make some good out of it, that would be. It's really important. I really have to try and do something to balance the scales.
You think you can balance them?
No. No, there's no way if I lived 100 lives I could do that. No, I can't take back what. Even if they are recycled and reborn, it doesn't change what I took away from these people. It doesn't change what I took away from these people. It doesn't change the pain that I brought on these people, and it doesn't change the damage that I did, all the losses that it caused.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes McEnroe. Due to some scheduling difficulties, we have a different witness that we plan to put on Monday. So what we're going to do is we're going to interrupt Mr. McEnroe's testimony at this point in anticipation of taking that witness on Monday, and then resuming with Mr. McEnroe's cross-examination first thing Tuesday morning. At least that's the game plan at this point in time. So we're going to excuse you to the jury room, and then we will release you early for the day, and we will see you back here on Monday morning at
here's where we're at. We're trying to. We have 3 video conferences that we want to do, or Skype testimony. One with a private individual, and I believe that the Skype for that was tested late yesterday afternoon. The other with a gentleman who's in Department of Corrections at Clallam Bay, and the other with a gentleman who is at a federal prison in Colorado, which is with the counselors there just today, Your Honor. So we're trying to set up both of those, and when we set those, we'd like to set them for a time certain, just because it's easier to do that. We also have a person we want to bring out from the Department of Corrections to testify, not for a long time, but just to testify about what conditions Mr. McEnroe would be held in at the Department of Corrections. Because of the way things are laying out with Mr. McEnroe's cross-examination starting on Tuesday the 14th, we're reshuffling when some of these things might happen. So we have 3 out-of-town witnesses left who will be flying in. We had thought to bring those people in Tuesday, but obviously that poses a problem with Mr. McEnroe's cross-examination is going to begin on Tuesday morning. And I think all 3 of those together will only take half a day. So I'd like at some point to get them in and get them out. I can't give you a straight answer because these are the scheduling difficulties we're working with, and I'd like, to the extent possible, to take care of all these out-of-town people so then we just have local people left.
Okay.
So that's where we stand, and I would expect to be talking further to the state about that today, and I know that they're going to want a witness list of who would come next week, but they know the first 2 days anyway.
No problem. I'm just trying to get a sense of how many more witnesses overall you have, too. So is that pretty much the universe you're talking about here?
Yes, I haven't enumerated all the local ones, but if I could, maybe I could send an email later today on that.
How many local ones are there again?
Well, I can't. I don't know offhand, Your Honor. I would estimate. I would estimate 10 to 15, but I honestly, that is my best guess, and that could be too few. I simply don't remember offhand. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a sense of whether we're going to be coming out of the wire sometime during the week of the 20th. It sounds like that's still possible.
Here's my answer to that question. The answer is it depends. We have Dr. Johnson hard scheduled for the 20th and 21st of April.
Okay.
If at all possible, we will finish with Dr. Beaver on the 13th. However, if that is not possible, his next date of availability is the 23rd. So we could potentially, if we need to, bring him back that day. The other wild card is Dr. Cunningham. And speaking of not getting straight answers, Your Honor, his office is unable to give me a straight answer as to his availability because they don't know how long he's going to take in the Montfort trial.
Well, the Montfort trial, I think, has been in recess for a couple of days.
They're back in today.
I'm sorry?
They're back in today.
They're back in today. So they may be a little bit behind
Well,
their projected schedule.
the exchange of emails I had with Dr. Cunningham's office this morning, they told me that he's available the whole week of the 27th. And I told him that doesn't help. So,
Right. Precisely.
so then I responded and I said, let me check with the Montfort team because Dr. Cunningham's office couldn't tell me when he would be done because it seems to make sense if he's in town anyway. Maybe because I think he's going to be fairly brief for us, as I think I've indicated before. We're thinking of just a couple hours on the stand, and I'm assuming there'll be a couple hours of cross-examination. But still, it seems to me anyway, to be plausible that we could get him in as soon as he's done with Montfort. But nobody seems.
Before he's done with Montfort.
I suggested that we try to shuffle him back and forth between trials, and that might be unworkable, but that's the kind of thing I think of all the time.
I think it's entirely workable.
Nobody responded when I proposed it, so I will continue to try to work with that. If we can finish before the 23rd, I think we would all be fine with that, at least on the defense side.
And the only reason you know of that he wouldn't be available until the 27th is because of this amorphous obligation he has to the Montfort trial sometime between now and then.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. I don't know what his schedule is during the week of the 20th.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm inclined to say that if he doesn't have a date certain for Montfort, we give him a date certain in this case, and we
That's perfectly fine, Your Honor. I'd be happy to submit a proposed order. And then,
Judge Kessler to do what?
I can work with Judge Kessler on that. So.
okay.
But if he doesn't have a date in the Monfort case yet,
Well, I think he's already on the stand in the Monfort case. He just doesn't have a date when he's going to end.
Oh, so that's just part of the recess?
No, I think the recess was due to Mr. Montfort being sick.
I know, but if we had known, if we'd known there was a gap in the action, we could have brought him here.
Why? I don't think if people knew it until. The morning of.
That's right. Right, and at that point we had already flown in several witnesses from out of town, so it would have, because he was supposed to start on the 7th, I believe, in Montfort, maybe, or the 8th.
My guess is that he will go through next week easily because of he's obviously a primary witness for them on the issue of not guilty by reason of consent.
And I think their limited schedule is 9 to 11 and then 2 to 4.
1 to 3.
1 to 3.
It occurs maybe if he goes through next week and he's available the week of the 20th, he could either proceed or follow Dr. Johnson. Right?
Proceed I would be concerned about because we have only 2 days for Dr. Johnson.
Or follow.
Yeah, so follow, but yeah, for instance, the 22nd. That's right.
Okay.
So I will send the court and the state a list of who's left later this afternoon.
That would, I don't want to get too far behind the 8 ball.
No,
at
I
this point in time.
think we all agree it's just a scheduling game.
Okay, and if I need to communicate with Judge Kessler about a specific way of working this, I'm more than happy to do that because they are in recess for extended periods of time. And if we could get him up here and change our calendar a little bit to run from 11 to 1, for example, and get him on for testimony we need him for, I'd be okay with that. I think we would make that a decent workaround.
I'm happy to discuss options like that.
Okay. We'll see what you can find out in addition to what we talked about, and I'll commit to you that if we can make that happen here, then that's workable with Judge Kessler will do it.
Yeah, I just so that we're on his ability to be imprecise. It does seem that we've sort of numbered about 24 more witnesses. And if I remember correctly, the defense had asked to call a couple of hundred witnesses or so. So I'm wondering if Mr. Presti is thinking that that's the universe of witnesses left, or that's the immediate future of
I thought that was the universe.
Rather than give another answer that doesn't answer anything, could I just send an email later so that it's clear for all of us?
Please do.
Thank you.
And just articulate
Thank you.
what the universe looks like.
If I might ask, is the court anticipating that we would finish, hoping that we finish testimony the week of the 20th and closings, or finish testimony the week of the 20th?
I would love to get closings done, but I'm not so sure that that's very crucial in light of the fact that the jurors, I believe, have made plans for that later that week, that next week as well. So we could give them closings and then have them not start deliberations for a week, but that's not a practice I would embrace. I'd rather delay the closings. But,
That makes sense.
and again, that's not knowing what's going to transpire in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so Mr. Presti, if you could do that this afternoon, that'd be fine. Thank you.
We'll do so.
And otherwise, I guess I will see you folks on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.